The weekend began with a phone call Emma almost ignored. It was late Thursday afternoon, and rain tapped against her kitchen window as she stared at an unfinished cup of coffee. When she saw Sarah's name on the screen, she smiled without thinking. Sarah had been her closest friend for nearly 20 years, through college moves, marriages, divorces, and quiet rebuilding years. Sarah sounded tired. Her voice carried the kind of stress that comes from trying to hold everything together alone. She explained quickly that a work emergency had come up. Her teenage son, Noah, had a school workshop in Emma's town. It was only 2 nights. Oh, I do. Emma be willing to let him stay? Emma said yes before Sarah even finished the question. It felt easy. Too easy. Emma had a guest room that stayed untouched most of the year. Her weekends were usually quiet, filled with grocery runs and long walks. Hosting Noah seemed harmless, almost helpful. It's a way to feel useful again. She didn't expect anything more than that when Friday came. Emma cleaned the house more than necessary. She changed the sheets twice, wiped already clean counters, and lit a candle she never used. She told herself she was just being polite. Still, there was a strange energy in the air. Like something unseen was moving closer. Noah arrived. Just before sunset, he stood on the porch with a small backpack and a nervous smile. He was taller than Emma expected, thin but strong, with kind eyes that held both curiosity and caution. He thanked her right away, his voice polite and careful. As if he didn't want to take up too much space, Emma welcomed him inside, pointing out the guest room and the bathroom. Noah nodded, listening closely. He placed his shoes neatly by the door without being asked. That small detail stayed with her. They ate dinner together at the kitchen table. Emma had made pasta, nothing fancy. Noah complimented it anyway. He talked about school, about the workshop, about how his mom worried too much. He laughed softly, then stopped himself, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to relax. Emma listened more than she spoke. She noticed how thoughtful he was, how he chose his words. It reminded her of a time long ago when people still asked her questions and waited for her answers. As Noah spoke, Emma felt something stir inside her. Not desire, not attraction, something quieter and heavier. Memory she remembered being young and unsure, trying to understand who she was meant to become. She remembered sitting at tables like this one, wishing an adult would notice her fear and say the right thing. Noah finished his meal and offered to help clean up. Emma almost laughed. She told him it wasn't necessary, but he insisted. Stood side by side at the sink, passing plates, moving carefully around each other. The house felt different with another person in it. Later, Noah went to his room to prepare for the next day. Emma stayed in the kitchen, staring at the dark window. Her reflection looked tired, older than she felt. She pressed her fingers to the glass and breathed slowly. She wasn't lonely in the way people expect. She had friends, work, routines. But something had been missing for a long time. Something she had stopped naming. That night, sleep came in short waves. Emma woke often, listening to the quiet house. She thought about Sarah, about how life had divided them into different paths. She thought about Noah, and how young people carry the weight of the future without knowing how heavy it is. Morning arrived too quickly. Saturday moved fast. Noah left early for his workshop. Emma spent the morning running errands, but her mind stayed restless. She found herself thinking about small things, his careful manners, his honest answers, the way he had listened to her stories without interrupting. She didn't understand why it mattered. When Noah returned in the afternoon, he looked tired, but excited. He talked about what he had learned, about ideas that sparked his interest. Emma made sandwiches, and they ate on the back porch under gray skies. At one point, Noah asked her what she did for work. Emma told him about her job, about how she once dreamed of something different. She didn't go into detail, but the truth lingered between them. He nodded, thoughtful. "Do you ever miss it?" "Ah?" he asked. Emma paused. No one had asked her that in years. "Yes," she said simply. The honesty surprised her. They went for a walk later through the quiet streets. Leaves crunched under their feet. Noah talked about college fears, about not wanting to disappoint his mom. Emma listened, offering gentle words, nothing more. She was careful. She knew she had to be. But inside, emotions rose like a tide. Toward Noah himself, but toward everything he represented. Youth. Possibility. The moment before life hardens into routine. That evening, Sarah called again. Emma stepped into the hallway to talk. She reassured her friend that everything was fine, that Noah was doing great. Sarah thanked her, her voice warm and trusting. When the call ended, Emma leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. Trust was a fragile thing. Dinner that night was quieter. Noah seemed more relaxed, more himself. He joked once or twice. Emma smiled, but a weight sat in her chest. She realized she was standing at the edge of something emotional she did not want to fall into. After dinner, Noah asked if he could read in the living room. Emma agreed and went to the kitchen. She cleaned slowly, giving herself time to think. She understood then that this weekend wasn't about Uno at all. It was about her, about the years she had spent closing doors to protect herself, about the quiet ache she had learned to ignore, about the fear of feeling too much, even when nothing inappropriate existed. Late that night, Noah said goodnight and thanked her again. Emma watched him walk down the hallway and felt tears gather. Without warning, she went to her bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded. She let the tears fall quietly, confused by their source, but certain they mattered. This weekend had opened something she thought was gone, and she didn't yet know how to close it again. Saturday morning came quietly, but Emma felt a strange energy in the house. The sunlight poured through the living room window, hitting the small table where she sat sipping coffee. Noah was still asleep, and the house was unusually calm. Emma's mind wandered as she considered the weekend. She realized she had been watching him closely without even noticing. Not in any improper way, but in the way people observe life when it reminds them of paths once taken. There was something in his ease with small gestures, his careful attention to the world that made her heart ache softly by mid-morning. Noah emerged, hair tousled, wearing the hoodie Emma had offered the night before. He greeted her with a polite smile, carrying a stack of books he wanted to read. Emma suggested a walk, and he agreed. They left the house, shoes crunching against the gravel driveway, and wandered through the neighborhood. Their conversation started lightly, school friends. Music, but gradually it shifted to deeper topics. Noah mentioned how he sometimes felt invisible at home, how his mother's constant worry made him feel like a burden, and how he didn't yet know what he wanted to do with his life. Emma listened carefully. She offered small pieces of advice, the kind she would have given herself if someone had asked 20 years ago. She spoke about the value of patience, the importance of listening to one's instincts, and the quiet strength it takes to make mistakes and learn from them. Noah nodded often, occasionally glancing at her with a sincerity that made her chest tighten. It wasn't romantic in the least, but it stirred something she had almost forgotten, the deep, aching longing for connection, for understanding, for being truly seen. After the walk, they returned home. Emma suggested making lunch together. Noah agreed, and soon they were chopping vegetables side by side in the kitchen, the sound of the knife against the cutting board, the steam rising from the pots. The way they shared a glance over the sink, everything felt tender and familiar. Emma caught herself smiling more than usual. She realized she had missed these small moments of companionship, the quiet rhythm of being with someone who listens and responds with attention and care. Lunch was simple sandwiches and soup. Noah talked about his favorite books, and Emma shared stories from her own teenage years, careful to stay lighthearted yet honest. Noah laughed, occasionally catching himself embarrassed at how much he enjoyed talking. Emma felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in years, the kind that comes from being genuinely present with another person. She recognized that the weekend had shifted from a simple favor to a subtle emotional awakening. After lunch, Noah pulled out a notebook he had brought along and asked Emma if she would read something he wrote. She agreed, curious. As she read, she realized he was thoughtful, introspective, and remarkably articulate for his age. His words spoke of fears, dreams, and small regrets, a young heart wrestling with the weight of the future. Emma offered gentle feedback, encouraging him to trust his instincts and to embrace mistakes as part of learning. Noah listened with the same careful attention he had shown all weekend. As evening approached, Sarah called to check in. Emma stepped into the hallway, speaking in a calm voice, assuring her that everything was fine and Noah was comfortable. Sarah's gratitude came through easily, her tone relaxed and trusting. When the call ended, Emma leaned against the wall, feeling a mix of relief and unexpected melancholy. Hosting Noah had become more than just helping a friend. It had become a mirror, reflecting aspects of herself she had neglected or forgotten. Dinner that night was quiet, punctuated by thoughtful conversation. Noah mentioned the workshop he attended and the ideas that excited him. Emma listened, offering encouragement and insight. At one point, he asked a question that caught her off guard. "Do you ever wonder if your life would have been different if you'd made different choices?" Emma paused. She had thought about that question in fleeting moments, but never voiced it aloud. "Yes," she said honestly. "Sometimes I do. But I've learned that life isn't about perfect choices. It's about making the best of the ones we have and learning from them." Noah nodded, absorbing the answer. His expression softened and he looked away as if he were processing more than just her words. Emma felt a swell of empathy and tenderness. She realized that while she was the adult in the room, he had taught her something as well: how to feel deeply, to notice the subtleties of connection, and to confront long-suppressed emotions without fear. Later, they moved to the living room. Noah picked a book from the shelf, and Emma settled into the armchair with her tea. They shared the quiet space comfortably. No need for constant conversation, just a presence that felt meaningful. Emma thought about how rare it was to experience such a weekend, how often life rushes past without these moments of gentle awareness. She felt grateful, though her heart carried an unfamiliar ache. A gentle recognition of missed opportunities and roads not taken. When Sunday morning arrived, the reality of departure hovered. Emma made breakfast and Noah helped clear the table. Their interactions were natural, filled with shared smiles and small gestures. Noah's demeanor was more relaxed, more open, but Emma could sense his own awareness that the weekend's bubble was nearing its end. As the afternoon approached, Sarah arrived. The reunion between mother and son was warm, filled with hugs and laughter. Noah hugged Emma goodbye, careful, respectful, and oddly tender. He thanked her for everything: the hospitality, the advice, the quiet presence. Emma hugged him back, holding herself steady, feeling a strange mix of pride, relief, and poignant sadness. After they left, the house was silent. Emma sat on her couch, reflecting on the weekend. She realized that her emotions, which had seemed confusing and overwhelming, were not tied to Noah directly, but to the life he symbolized: the youth, the innocence, the potential, and the missed chances. She allowed herself to cry softly, not in despair, but in a gentle acknowledgement of the person she had been and the person she was still becoming. The weekend had ended, but the quiet questions lingered. Emma understood that her heart had been stirred not by temptation, but by reflection, by emotional clarity, by this sudden recognition that she still had room for growth, for hope, for new connections in her life. She thought about her future, about love, friendship, the opportunities that might still come in the solitude of her home. She realized that sometimes the most meaningful experiences do not come from dramatic events or passionate moments, but from quiet, shared time, honest conversation, and the gentle reminder that life's beauty often lies in subtle, fleeting encounters. The house felt empty, yet full at the same time. Emma knew that the weekend had given her more than she could have anticipated. It had reminded her of her own resilience, her capacity for care, and the importance of noticing life as it passes. Tenderly, even in small ways. As night fell, she looked out the window at the darkened street, and for the first time in years, she felt a flicker of anticipation for what was yet to come, not tied to anyone in particular, but to the sense that life still held unexpected moments, connections, and quiet revelations. And she smiled softly, knowing that this weekend would remain in her memory. A gentle, emotional turning point that had arrived quietly, but with profound effect. She finally allowed herself to rest, confident that she had learned something essential. That love, care, and connection do not always arrive as we expect, but their impact lingers, shaping the heart in ways that are subtle, enduring, and profoundly human.